Okay, have you ever been part of a massive corporate rollout that just totally fizzled out like 6 months later? Yeah, you're definitely not alone there. Recent data from the Boston Consulting Group reveals a pretty shocking reality. Only 1 in 4 corporate transformations actually create enduring value. Think about that for a second. That literally means 75% of the time, all that investment, all the training, all those big executive town halls, they just evaporate. Poof, gone. So it begs the question, right? Why do so many of these transformations fail? Well, time for a little self-reflection. Ask yourself, are you treating change as just a simple technology rollout, or are you actually recognizing it as a necessary behavioral shift? Because if you just hand your team a shiny new software tool and expect productivity to magically soar, well, you're falling right into a trap. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into some really fascinating source material from the Change in 3 Minutes framework. We're going to unpack exactly how you make change actually stick. Our core focus today is shifting away from what we call launch theater. You know the drill. The mandatory fun town halls, the branded corporate mugs, and moving towards actual, real behavioral fluency. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the transformation trap. Second, the 3 rules of change. Third, onboarding as your first test. Fourth, building behavioral fluency. And finally, the AI skills moat. We are going to unpack the exact frameworks you need to make your next transformation a lasting success. All right, let's jump straight into the 3 rules of change, also known as the C3M philosophy. So this philosophy actually comes directly from the Change in 3 Minutes executive briefing format. Think of it as a really powerful strategic wake-up call for leaders who are just completely overwhelmed by complex change management theories. It's designed to cut right through the jargon and deliver evidence-based, executive-friendly insights in a way that busy leaders can actually digest and apply immediately. Because let's be real, if a change strategy is too complicated to explain in 3 minutes, it is definitely too complicated to execute. Now, there are 3 absolute, non-negotiable rules of change here. First up, strategy dies without culture. It doesn't matter how brilliant your new operating model is on paper, if the everyday culture rejects it, it's gonna fail. Second, resistance is information. When your team pushes back, they're just being difficult for the sake of it. They're actually giving you a vital diagnostic signal about where things are broken. And third, senior leader inconsistency breaks momentum. I mean, if executives announce a shiny new CRM, but then turn around and ask for reports in the old spreadsheet format, your momentum is instantly dead. The absolute crucial point to remember here is that business change is always, always more human than technical. Moving right along to our next section, onboarding, the first test. Okay, this is honestly staggering. 37% of first-year turnover happens within the very first 90 days. The first critical test of your organization's ability to handle change actually happens the exact moment a new hire walks through the door or, logs on for the very first time. Poor onboarding isn't just some boring administrative chore. It is an immediate, gaping cultural leak. This is the very first time a new hire experiences your actual culture versus the perfectly polished one you sold them in the interview. And if you fail to connect them right then and there, you lose them. And hey, if the cultural cost doesn't grab your attention, the financial penalty is absolutely going to make your CFO weep. Getting onboarding wrong, especially in today's hybrid and remote environments, costs an organization anywhere from 90% to 200% of that employee's annual salary. That is a massive hit. This data is essentially a weapon you can use to prove that a poorly structured welcome process isn't just bad HR, it's actively destroying your company's bottom line. So the takeaway here is super simple. Onboarding is strategic infrastructure. It is not just some mundane checklist. And remember our rule from earlier? Strategy dies without culture. To actually build that culture, leaders need to physically or virtually show up in weeks 1, 4, and 12 of a new hire's journey, because your actual presence signals that the culture, and more importantly, the employee, actually matter. Which brings us nicely to building behavioral fluency. So, how do we actually fix this massive problem of change failure? Well, we use something called the 80-car scorecard. This framework is brilliant because it translates vague change messaging into observable fluency across 5 key stages: awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. Take knowledge, for example. The real diagnostic question here isn't whether someone mindlessly clicked through a mandatory training module. It's asking, do we actually know the specific behaviors we're asking our team to perform? It's all about ensuring absolute fluency in this new reality. Now, pay close attention to this part. Reinforcement actually carries the heaviest weight here, with a 1.2x multiplier. Why is that? Well, because without institutionalized recognition, meaning you are consistently tying those named behaviors directly to weekly KPIs, people are inevitably going to revert back to their old comfortable workarounds. Slipback is literally the ultimate enemy of transformation. If you don't actively reinforce the new behavior, your momentum simply dies out.
And here's a pretty hard truth we all need to swallow. Leadership isn't a megaphone, it's a mirror. I kind of want to hold this mirror up to you right now. Are you actually modeling the new behaviors that you're demanding from your teams? Think about it. If you want them to adopt a brand new system, but you're secretly relying on those comfy legacy processes behind closed doors, yeah, they're going to copy exactly what you do, not what you say.
All right, let's dive into our final section, the AI skills moat. We are facing two vastly different realities today when it comes to actually deploying artificial intelligence. On the one hand, we've got this incredibly damaging agent replace strategy. You've probably experienced this. It's when companies wall their customers behind frustrating bots and create these infinite, awful dead ends. But on the other side, we have the highly effective agent assist model. This is where AI acts as a co-pilot. It summarizes, it recommends next best actions, and then it seamlessly hands off to a human with a full context transcript. The truth is, AI is not eliminating jobs. Bad leadership strategy is. And the data absolutely proves that this assist model works. Support agents who were given access to generative AI assistance saw a 14% productivity boost across the board. And get this, that number jumped to a staggering 35% for novices. That is huge. It really illustrates that the true value of AI isn't about replacing your human workers. It's about augmenting them so they can perform at a significantly higher level. So, to really prepare your team for this, you need to build what we call a 3X skills moat. First up, you obviously need digital skills, things like prompt crafting and data literacy. But you absolutely must pair that with business skills. We're talking ROI framing, process redesign, and crucially, you need social skills. This means mapping stakeholders and really navigating human trust. Building out these three pillars creates a strategic defensive against disruption that no competitor is going to be able to easily replicate.
Okay, let's make this totally actionable. Here is your 90-day playbook for rolling out AI safely. In weeks 1 and 2, you need to publish a strict no-exit contactability standard. That simply means a human is never more than 2 clicks away for your customers. Then, in weeks 3 through 6, deploy your agent assist, but specifically in your top 5 customer intents. Finally, in weeks 7 through 12, you reinforce those new behaviors with consistent weekly recognition. This right here is exactly how you roll out assistive AI while maintaining a 0% no-exit rate.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a really powerful Drucker-inspired truth. Technology does not transform organizations. People using technology in new, trusted, reinforced ways transform organizations. So before your very next major rollout, I want you to ask yourself a tough question. Are you just announcing a shiny new tool, or are you actively building the trusted, reinforced habits your people actually need to succeed? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparks a completely new approach to how you lead change moving forward.